Welcome back to a little bit of cheese, your bite-sized Wisconsin sports podcast. I'm your host, Cody Deppius. That is Sam Douglas, fresh off a weekend. Boy, that was a busy one. I don't know what it was. Maybe just like the whole personal life, everything that was going on over here in lacrosse. It just happened to be a lot. Of course, there was the WI Wrestling State Finals. I had to keep up with that. Girls regional basketball. They had the regional finals this past weekend. Boys playoff basketball starts this week. And then all the stuff that we're going to talk about today. So we've had a lot to cover, and I think we're ready for it. Sam, how you doing today?
Doing good. Rock and roll. It's Monday morning, baby. We getting back on the horse through a disco party Saturday night. That was awesome. We were really looking forward to that for about a month. So it's nice to have that in the rearview mirror, and it's Monday. We're back on the horse.
Atta baby. Well, the Badgers kind of fell off a little bit on Saturday. They might have got bucked off the horse. More to their own doing here, I think. The final score against Michigan State, Sparty winning it, 71-62. The big stat line here for Wisconsin, and you can read any articles on this game, it was the three-point shooting. Wisconsin, 5 for 32 from three, where on the other end, Michigan State shot over 30%. So if you do the math, where if Wisconsin shoots, I don't know, close to what they typically shoot, that would probably be about 5 more threes. That would be 15 points with the math. With that, Wisconsin wins this game, maybe not in comfortable fashion, but they win this game. 15% from three. John Tonje was 1 for 8, Blackwell 1 for 7, and Kamari McGee, who's the leading three-point percentage shooter on this team, he was 0 for 5. So what are the overall takes looking at it after this game and the final score?
We knew it was going to come down to, or we thought it was going to come down to defense, because we're like, oh, this offense is good. We know we can score 80 points. And for most of the game, we were putting the ball in the bucket. Game finished 71-62 with 6:57, 7 minutes left to play. We had 57 points. That's 5 points in the last 7 minutes. That is an all-time choke job right after the Oregon game, which also an all-time choke job. And here's the George Bush reference, Cody.
Okay, yeah, I was waiting. As Sam's name, for those listening on Spotify, his Zoom name is George Bush, and I asked ahead of time. He would not tell me, so this is news for me.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me, you can't get fooled again. We saw it happen against Oregon. I'm worried now. I said I wasn't worried after the Oregon game. It looked like a couple mental flubs. You're going to go turn around the last 7 minutes of the game against the Michigan State team and not put anything together. Yeah, I think water's finding its level. I think the Badgers had no business being an 11 seed in the country. I mean, maybe they did. They played them well until 7 minutes to go and then just dropped the ball. They couldn't put the ball in the bucket. They went 5 minutes without scoring at all until a garbage time layup with 39 seconds left, when I think the subs were even brought in for that. This is absurd. At this point, you hate to overreact to it happening once when it's just a bad pass or two, but seeing them close out a game against a Big Ten opponent that they were in a close game with, that's troubling.
I think Michigan State isn't that good. That was kind of my take. And I think Wisconsin, this was kind of what we said could happen with this kind of offense. Like, they are so high powered, that ceiling is so high. There are going to be some games where they miss their shots. And the big question is, when that happens in a tournament, how does the team overcome that? It's a solid Michigan State team. They are ranked 8th in the country. I don't think they're going to get any higher after this game, and I don't think Wisconsin's going to get any lower. I think this is kind of what the polls might have represented or thought it was going to represent. I think Wisconsin's the better team. I think overall down the line, Wisconsin is not going to shoot this bad from three. I don't know if this is their worst three-point performance of the season, but 15% is pretty bad. Like I could do that with a hand in front of me. Sam, we could go out to the park later today, and I can tell you my free throw percentage is probably around 30%. And I'm thinking maybe 15% from three, we could make that happen. Poor, really poor. I mean, Tonje, he had his 11 points, but had to shoot up 8 threes. He only made the one of them. Blackwell, he did have 19, but he was 1 for 7 from 3. Those 3-pointers have to hit for that team to get the rhythm. They couldn't find any momentum because they were chucking up the shots, and a lot of those shots were good, solid shots that you wanted to see them take, but they just bricked them. So, per my Zoom name today, Bucky got bricky. He just couldn't hit his shots on Saturday. I think this is a team that Wisconsin could beat when it comes to the Big Ten tournament. I think they could beat them when it comes to NCAAs. I think, my feelings on this Badger team doesn't really change. That game stunk, but it didn't tell me that the Badgers stunk. They just had a bad day, and that's kind of the same feeling that we had with Oregon too. They were blowing them out. We know how good this team is. We know this team was right there with Michigan State, even when they weren't hitting their shots, and then just really didn't hit any shots the last 5 minutes of the game. This team is right there. I think they can compete. We understand how high the ceiling is. We also know that this Wisconsin's team could lose to a team that they aren't supposed to when it comes to the NCAA tournament. That is also in play here. So I don't think we really learned anything. We learned that on a bad day, Wisconsin is within 10 points of Michigan State. And I think we can still sleep pretty comfortably at night, all things considered. We slept really comfortably after learning that the Milwaukee Bucks dominated the Mavericks 132-117. The Bucks are now tied for fourth in the East at 34-25 with the Pacers. I know Sam commented right after the game on Giannis's stat line. Really poor numbers here, optically bad. 29, 9, and 9. Giannis, one stat away from every single triple-double statistic. Another MVP performance from him, really.
Yeah, Giannis is on a roll right now. The Bucks are on a roll right now. Last 7 games, they're 6-1, and the one was that Rockets game, which a couple shots didn't fall at the end, but they played a good team really well. We're 6-1 over the last 7. Over the last 7 games in the entire NBA, we're number 1 in defensive rating. We're number 1 in defensive rebounds. We're number 1 in the NBA in opponent efficient field goal percentage. Number 2 in the NBA in opponent field goal percentage overall. And 4th in the NBA in opponent 3-point percentage. They are locking teams down defensively recently. And you got to think it's an indictment on Bobby Portis. Right? It's got to be. You start throwing out some athletic guys instead of an offensive merchant, and what happens? The defense starts to click. You get 5 guys playing together instead of having an obvious hole out there. And you hate to say it, I'm not sure where things are going to go when he comes back, just rotation wise. But this is awesome. This is awesome. You hate to see Bobby go down like this, but you love to see winning basketball. Who's his athletic, man? He's definitely got a little fire under his tush, which we all hope for. And Giannis, man, the team goes where Giannis brings them.
Yep, and KPJ 11 points as well. Like this trade deadline where we said it last week, it didn't feel great right away. It's looking really solid right now. The defensive efficiency is so much better. What are they, 6-1 now since Bobby Portis was suspended? Like this team's on a roll. And I know earlier this year you were saying that Bobby might be the guy that got shipped out. Well, he got shipped out by his own wrongdoing. We didn't get anything in return for it, but the Bucks are on a roll. And I don't know. I don't think it's that much of an indictment on Bobby. I think this team is still going to be able to perform, but I think the push towards more athleticism on the entire floor is really what's helping. We talked about it last week, and this Mavs team, you just feel bad for them. They're in a bad spot. You don't have a lot of high hopes for them. Maybe in the next 5 years, like they just really threw any shot that they had a way of going back to the finals. I still will never understand that trade. I think that's always going to go down as one of the worst in history. And the Bucks just taking care of business. They're going to see the Mavs again on Wednesday. They'll see the Hawks tomorrow in Atlanta. They're tied for fourth in the East. You got to feel good about the Milwaukee Bucks right now. Everything's rolling. Damian Lillard with another 28, Gary Trent Jr. with 20 points, KPJ with 11 points, and Kuzma with 10. Is there anything bad that you can take away from a game like this?
I don't think you can, man. And I said this a while ago, is getting that top four seed is going to be important for the Bucks, and we're absolutely in position for that. I tell you what, the Knicks are not playing good basketball right now either.
Hmm.
I think we're five back from the Knicks. That door is open for us to take that three seed. Have home court in the first, maybe first two rounds. That would be absolutely electric. I would love to see the Detroit Pistons in the first round. I think it's just a better matchup. For Brooke Lopez especially, we know what a stretch five can do to Brooke when they can bring him out. So that's why Miles Turner is such a tough cover for him if we are to
Yeah.
see the Pacers or if we're to see the Knicks and they want to put Cat at their five. That's just it can cause us troubles. I would much rather see the Detroit Pistons in the first round where they have Jalen Duren, someone who's going to stay on the post, and then once you're out of that first round, it's just going to be a dogfight from there. You're going to
Yeah.
have to start seeing these guys. We're going to have to run into Cleveland at some point. You're going to have to run into Boston, but getting a home court in that first game, maybe first two games, letting some of those other teams beat each other up a little bit while we take Detroit. Which, hey, I talked about Detroit at the start of the season. I had Jaden Ivey being my most improved player,
Yep.
and if he would have stayed healthy, this Detroit team they just blew out the Celtics last week. Detroit's they're kind of hot. I'm gonna give them a little
Yeah.
Buddha sticker for this week. What is Detroit Pistons doing? Who saw this coming other than George Bush himself?
George Bush made a call, and this was the correct call, I would think. I don't know. They had a lot of high draft capital. If Detroit wasn't at least turning something around at this point, that means that they had multiple busts in a row, and that's not the case. They did draft well. Cunningham, I think, is a budding star. Ivy's playing really well. It's a solid team, and I think they're there to stay. And I think when Detroit is good at basketball, I think it's just better for the league overall. Like, just you go back to the Jordan days and the Isaiah Thomas, like they're just there. It's just better for basketball when Detroit isn't winning just 11 games in a season. And now they're going to be there, and they're going to be there in the playoffs. And as Bucks fans, you hope that they can run into them in the first round. But I think they can still be a little bit dangerous. I just love watching this team click. I think Rivers has done a really solid job of getting this team to click so early with the trades going right after that. Like this team is playing the way that you would expect it to when it came to the playoffs. I was expecting more of road bumps immediately after that trade deadline, especially after Chris Middleton was gone. Like you figured that locker room would have taken a little bit more of a hit, but no, they're right on the tracks and they're going a little bit quicker than I thought that they were going to be going at this point. So a lot of things that you can be happy about. Bucks at Hawks tomorrow. Mavs at Bucks on Wednesday. Milwaukee Brewers with a signing today. This is not a player, but former Mets general manager Billy Eppler will be headed to Milwaukee as a special advisor. He was suspended during the 2024 season after manipulating the injured list. So for layman's terms, he would tell the team, hey, can you make up a fake injury for X player? I want to open up a roster spot and bring up somebody into the 40-man. And this is something that is probably more common than Major League Baseball would like to admit, but Billy Eppler was caught. He was suspended. Of course, now David Stearns is over in New York as the general manager. Well, the Brewers signing Billy Eppler to come into Milwaukee as a special advisor. Any thoughts on this move here, Sam?
I like it. It sounds like, when we got KPJ, I said cheap talent is cheap talent, dude. It's not just been going on in baseball. I mean, this is a parent calling a kid out of school because he's faking sick. This is it's been going on for years. And if I don't think it's an indictment on him. And if he's out here looking for a job and he's qualified as a GM and we can have him as an advisor, that's an awesome pull. If we're not
Mm.
investing in the roster, we can at least invest in the offices. So
Yeah,
these are
yeah,
doing
that's where the
something.
problems were. I was really worried about Milwaukee's front office. But no, this is like we've heard about this problem. I heard about it mostly on TikTok from former players' wives. Like they would think that they'd be like
Sure.
dropping a bunch of tea where they'd come out and they like, hey, when someone goes down with a hamstring injury and nothing really happened in a game, and you're like, wait, why is he put on the injured list? Like we never saw him get hurt. it's because he wasn't hurt. And I was like, yeah, I figured. And she's like, my husband, like he'd get sent down and he'd be on the injured list, even though he wasn't injured at all. Like I would text and be like, hey, you have like shoulder discomfort? And he said, no, I'm fine. They just want to bring up this young hotshot. Like that Major League Baseball teams do this. If there is a loophole, people are going to exploit it. So I don't think Billy Eppler is like any lesser of like he has any less integrity than the normal Major League Baseball GM. Like I know it happens in Milwaukee. It's happened in Milwaukee. Those phantom injuries that happen. Like don't worry about Billy Eppler. It's good to have another mind in there. I feel comfortable, of course, like you said, just bringing in another mind, someone who has been a GM, even if he doesn't have the great ideas. In Matt Arnold, we trust. Like that. At no point you would have to watch Matt Arnold mess up a lot for me to not trust him and what he's doing. So how he's running it, I'm giving him the green light, 2 thumbs up on everything. I'm excited about everything. Sal Frelick has been hammering the piss out of the ball. 108 miles an hour off the bat. He has the hardest hit ball. He's 25 pounds heavier. I told you, he got beefy. He hit an Oppo Taco home run yesterday. Swing looks good. Everything looks solid. Caleb Durbin, he's looking great. His interview process has been great. He's from Lake Forest, Illinois, which is like 15 minutes from Wisconsin's border. He feels very comfortable. Things just feel great for Milwaukee right now.
Other than Thomas Pantone's start yesterday, right? Did
yeah,
you see the start? I think he lasted a .1 inning, 5 hits, 1 walk, 3 earned. And we responded. It ended up with a tie game, 12-12. So
12-12.
Good to see the offense stepping up after your starter goes .1 inning.
Yeah, that happens. I mean, spring training baseball, and you can't look at it as anything bad on a pitcher in any sense, because oftentimes I think Max Scherzer has always had terrible numbers, and Jacob deGrom has always had terrible numbers in spring training. Really, I would feel worse if my pitchers weren't getting lit up in spring training. That would mean that they're trying too hard and they're not trying different pitches. I want to see Freddie Peralta out there trying to figure out a splinker. I don't know. He's up there, live at bats, nothing to lose. Go and throw a bunch of junk and see if something sticks. And I know Pannone is really trying to make this roster. I think he has a chance. He got lit up, but so did Cleveland's pitching staff as well. A 12-12 tie. That's kind of what's been going on all spring training. And I love it. There are guys hitting home runs from Milwaukee that I have never heard of before in my life. Ernesto Martinez Jr., put him on your radar. That guy's got a pretty swing. He's been hitting bombs. A bunch of guys from Milwaukee hitting bombs. It's been great. Just had a lot of runs yesterday. Hope that continues for Milwaukee. Maybe the pitching starts getting better, but I don't want it to. I want to see 10-run games on both sides of the plate. I think that would be great. Packers news, Davante Adams is now officially available for trade via the New York Jets. They also said that they would be willing to release him if they aren't able to find a viable trade partner. Davante is supposed to get a $35 million base salary over the next 2 years. I'm going to go into my first cheese grater question for you, Sam.
Yeah.
Do you have a perfect trade package that you would give up for Davante Adams? I know you weren't that high on DK Metcalf, but I'll give you the option here. You can have the New York Jets take off some money or pay for some of that contract. How much would you give up to bring a aging Davante Adams back into Green Bay?
I'm still not high on bringing in a receiver. Davante Adams is a stud. Would love to see 17 green and gold again. I think you got to offload a little bit from the receiver room, just for attitude and team chemistry. When you got 9 guys asking for the ball, someone's going to get mad. I think I'd do a third in Romeo. I wouldn't go too crazy. He's getting a little bit older. Again, I'm not a fan. I've made it clear I'm not a fan of bringing a receiver in. I think there's so many other things that we can do, and I just want to see investment in the guys that we have. That being said, Davante, third and Romeo.
I like that. And you're having New York take some of that salary?
Yes,
I would
absolutely.
imagine. If they do that, would you throw in maybe a 6th? Third Romeo and a 6th? Eat some salary?
If we have a hand, if we, I'm not sure what our whole board looks like, but if we still have a couple six, sevens, back there, I don't want to give up
Mhm.
the whole much out of that day three because there's clearly opportunities in the sixth, seventh. But if we've got one to give, three, six, Romeo,
Yeah.
have him do a little bit of pay. Maybe Gyre and a five.
I
But I do think you got to clear up that wide receiver room a little bit.
yeah.
That's why I want to throw Romeo in there. Um, I'll get into a little bit of NBA action for you. There's 10 straight Cleveland Cavs wins going on right now. They're the 12th team in NBA history to start a season 50-10. Is it time to start taking the Cavs seriously?
I think they've been serious. I serious title contenders.
Yeah.
Yes, I think you bring them into the conversation. I don't think you bring them in as favorites into that conversation quite yet. Regular season basketball is a lot different from playoff basketball, and Cleveland hasn't really made any runs in the past couple of years. They've had a great regular season to this point. I think they can compete, but they're not one of the tried and true teams. They're not Boston. They're not Milwaukee, even, because Milwaukee's been able to make a run as of recent. But I think this team has the ceiling to be able to do it. I just got to see it first. And right now we're seeing it in the regular season. But like I said, it's two completely different seasons. Teams, they can flip a switch. The entire mindset can change when it gets to the playoff basketball. Because you see this so often during the regular season where guys literally take nights off. Teams literally take nights off. The Milwaukee Bucks had a JV roster out there for one night. These games, for a lot of these teams, they don't matter because they understand how long the playoffs are. There are two separate seasons in the NBA. I would say I think I have Boston, and I think I have Milwaukee, and then I think I have Cleveland. So I'm actually putting Milwaukee as higher hopes in the playoffs than I have Cleveland. I think that's where I stand with that. I want to get your thought on that too, because I can tell you're thinking a little bit over there.
I'd do the same. I like that you have Milwaukee in the top three. I think we're unique in that. I'm a Donovan Mitchell fan, man. He's been balling out in Utah his whole career. And so he's in his prime now. He has playoff moments when he was going back and forth against who was it, Jamal Murray a handful of years ago. Like Spida is somebody who has
Mm-hmm.
gotten MVP votes before. He's
Right.
in his prime. He's got a good team around him. If he wants to stamp himself as a dude in this league, this is his chance. So I'm a fan of his game. He's been in Utah and Cleveland. He's been small markets, and he's got an opportunity to say, "Hey, I am a future Hall of Fame guy who's just been doing it in a small market." So I like the opportunity that he has. But I don't know about the team as a whole. I'm really not sure about these Cleveland Cavs. I'm on the fence with them.
All right. I think we agree wholeheartedly. Second grader question for you. Do your thoughts change at all on the Wisconsin Badgers after that game on Saturday? Do you have higher or lower expectations for them?
Lower. My mind did
Okay.
change a little bit. We know what ceiling they can have. It's a matter of what ceiling they do have. And if you're not going to get your act together in a close game against Oregon in the last minute, if you're going to go 7 minutes without scoring the ball more than twice against the Michigan State team, that the verdict was they're not even that good. What ceiling do you really have? Can
Hmm.
they play good basketball throughout most of the games and play these teams well and get a top 25 ranking as a quality Big Ten program that they are? Absolutely. How good are you really if you're not doing it in crunch time? So a couple down stocks, for the Badgers for me, man. I do
Okay.
think they took a hit this past week.
Still Sweet 16? No.
I don't know, man. I've seen them choke away brutal losses. You can't fool me. You can't get fooled again, Cody.
I,
I don't know
so,
what to do with them. They might be a first round exit.
I don't know, George Bush. We'll see.
Um, Bobby comes back. Is that gonna bring us to a new level, or are there gonna be bumps in the road?
I
Comes back
I
with
don't
left in the regular season.
With 4 games,
Mhm.
I think this team is going to be good. I don't see things haven't felt smooth for Milwaukee really ever. I mean, we've seen
Mhm.
in Giannis's days there have been really great regular seasons that have just fallen apart in the playoffs. Even that playoff run that they had that they were able to go on and win the finals, I rewatch Kevin Durant's toes step onto the line. Like that was not it wasn't smooth. Like it didn't feel smooth. My heart still jumped out of my chest about 40 times in that playoff. So like I think it increases Milwaukee's ceiling. It gives them more capabilities on offense. And I think this roster is just so much better with Kuzma and KPJ there, as well as Jericho Sims. Because Sims can go in there when a break is needed for Bobby Portis. So I think you have a little bit of the player that you want in both a Portis and a Sims that you can throw out there on the floor for different situations. Because Sims can't do what Bobby can do, and Bobby can't do what Sims can do on the defensive and rebounding front. So I think that the ceiling's higher. I think the transition will go well. I think it will. I mean, it's the ceiling is just a little bit higher, and I have a lot of high hopes for the Bucks. And I know I've been up and down. I still remember at the 2-8 start, you're calling them out. I think it's fair to call a team out when they start out 2-8, but they're able to turn it around. I think Rivers has these guys playing really well. I think things. I'm excited for this year. I'm really excited for the playoffs. I don't know if they can take down Boston. I don't even know if they can take down Cleveland, but I think they can. I think we know that they can, and I think that those chances just increase when Bobby gets out there on the floor as well. Buck's question for you. What is the goal for the rest of the regular season for the Milwaukee Bucks?
That I think get that 3 seed. I think you want to get out of that 4, 5, 6 mumbo jumbo. You want home court, so top 4 is priority numero uno because you want home court. And after that, man, if you can catch the Knicks, then I really like that. Then you're playing against a Detroit team. It's looking like it's going to be Detroit, unless the Pacers really have a hard fall off. But I think there's a little bit of cushion there. And then, or what the Magic end up doing. Jalen Suggs just went out for the year, which is super sad. He's been an awesome defender. He's been finally blowing up after he was really good in college. I was kind of waiting for him to get traction, and it felt like he just started getting it. So that's unfortunate. But no, a top 3 seed, especially with Bobby coming back so late with that 4 games left into the season. It's going to be important for us to have that first round that we can go out there, have confidence that we're going to win, and get into a flow of things rather than Bobby comes back. Now we're playing the Pacers and we're running up and down and we're an old team. We start forcing shots.
Yeah.
And I just don't like that Pacers matchup at all. I got too much PTSD from last year.
Yeah, I understand that to the full extent.
I got a fun one for you, Cody.
All right. I like fun.
I played 9 seasons for the Green Bay Packers. 4 of them, I had more than 1,000 yards receiving. But I was only a one-time Pro Bowler, and this is probably because I never caught over 100 balls in a season. Who am I?
9 seasons. Oh, so this player, 4 times over 1,000 yards, that takes away James Jones. Greg Jennings comes to mind, but I also think that Donald Driver does. The only thing that makes me think that it wouldn't be Driver is I think that he had more than 4,000-yard seasons. But now when I pull up the Football Reference page that is imprinted into my brain, I think I'm going to say Donald Driver.
It's not Donald Driver. I'm not sure if he would, but the thing that's holding me back from saying Driver is the 100 catches in a season. I feel like Driver had to have over 100 in a season.
I will proof check that.
Driver.
Give me the answer though.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
It's Driver, maybe Jennings.
I'm a 2nd round draft pick in 2008.
Is it Jordy Nelson?
That's Jordy Nelson.
1 Pro Bowl?
Yeah, only 1, dude.
That's ridiculous. I had no idea. That's embarrassing. NFL, do better. Wow. 1 Pro Bowl. Jordy Nelson was like top 5 receiver in the league for multiple years. That's That's incredible. That's
Fantasy
crazy.
football drafts? He was a first round fantasy football receiver years in a row.
That's yeah, no, that's crazy. Okay, we got Driver's football reference pulled up. Driver made 4 Pro Bowls. He had 0 years over 100 catches. He caught 92 back in '06. He was a Pro Bowler in 2002, 2006, 2007, and 2010. And I think 2010, he only had 565 yards receiving. So I think that was kind of, yeah, we understand Donald's on his way out. We might as well give him one more Pro Bowl pat on the back. And they did. But yeah, so Donald Driver has 4 times the Pro Bowls that Jordy Nelson does. That doesn't sit right with me. That one's gonna keep me up tonight. So thank you for that fun trivia there, Sam. That's good stuff. And we're always learning here on A Little Bit of Cheese. So Sam and I will be back on Friday. We'll recap the Bucks. We'll get everybody prepped for another great Badgers weekend. And we'll see if anything fun happens in spring training or if we get any more Packers news coming in. But we'll keep you all up to date on everything Wisconsin sports. I'd like to thank you for listening with us once today. I'm Cody Eppler. That is Sam Douglas, and we'll see you at the end of the week for another edition of A Little Bit of Cheese, your bite-sized Wisconsin sports podcast.